peace, obviously. Rayquaza, the face of Pokemon Emerald, is both the guardian of Earth and the keeper of the peace between ancient beefing gods Groudon and Kyogre. It resides in Earth's atmosphere, subsisting on water and space dust as it protects the planet from threats like aliens and meteors and stuff like that. Though Rayquaza aims to keep the peace, its ability to control the weather makes it a literal force of nature, and it's the only Pokemon that can Mega Evolve without a stone, instead possessing a dedicated organ for that specific purpose.
Mega!
Rayquaza!
Trust me, and I'll show you a way to focus your powers that will make you invincible. Show me.
Many fans who enjoyed Pokemon the first movie as children probably found Mewtwo terrifying, and honestly, it still is from an adult perspective, especially when you run into a TCG opponent with Mewtwo on their team. Aside from those that are literal gods, Mewtwo is arguably one of the most powerful legendary Pokemon. With absurdly strong psychic powers, it possesses basically every cool ability you can think of, from telekinesis to mind erasure to the capability for human speech via telepathy. Its lore as a genetic experiment is also one of the deepest in the franchise, sparking philosophical questions about what identity really means.
Am I just an experiment? A laboratory specimen? This cannot be my destiny.
It's so cute, it's the best of all!
You'll see.
Oh, hi, Pikachu! Pika.
Ash and Pikachu are the dynamic duo in the Pokemon franchise fandom. It's hard to imagine what the anime possibly could have looked like without Pikachu by the trainer's side for hundreds of episodes, but it was almost Clefairy. In any case, since then, the fan-favorite Electric Rat has taken up the mantle as the overall mascot for the entire franchise. It's in almost all marketing materials, and people will trek from across the globe just to get Pokemon Center exclusive Pikachus. There is undoubtedly no character more synonymous with the overarching legacy of Pokemon than Pikachu. Truly, who else but Charizard could have taken the #1 spot in this list? The subject of some of the most iconic TCG cards of all time, a simultaneously badass and meaningful companion to Ash in the anime, and a Pokemon team staple going back to the very first game, Charizard is the undisputed GOAT. Since it appeared on the original box art for Pokemon Red, it was the first favorite for many, and to lots of fans, nothing has been able to dethrone it since.
We did it, Charizard! We won!
So there you have it, those are IGN's picks for the 30 best Pokemon of all time, based on vague and various criteria. Did we catch your favorite, or do we think we missed one of the all-time greats? There's over 1,000 of them, so it's very possible that your list is different from ours. Let us know in the comments below, and for more Pokemon, check out our list of the best Pokemon games of all time, and for everything else, stick with IGN.
To me, and I'm sure many others, the Pokemon franchise as a whole has always been cozy. Set in a mostly idyllic world with cute best friends who are always by your side, how could it not give you warm, fuzzy feelings, at least occasionally? We've had some relaxing Pokemon games over the years, but we've never quite had a game that embraced this secondary cozy aesthetic fully into its gameplay. Until now, with Pokemon Pokopia. I played the first hour of Pokemon's first life sim, and the sheer amount of discovery to be made hooked me. I also played Pokemon Pokopia in multiplayer mode in a more developed world. Plus, I learned more straight from the developers. Pokemon Pokopia begins with a Ditto waking up after a long, undefined slumber. It remembers its trainer in its hometown, with the nameless narrator commenting, "You look so happy with your trainer petting you." Oh, that is so sweet and so sad. Ditto's trainer is nowhere to be found, and that's Ditto's, you, the protagonist, motivator. In a bid to try and find its trainer, Ditto transforms into a human that looks like its trainer the best they can. Enter the character creator, in which you get to choose between 7 hairstyles, 28 hair colors, hats, clothes, and bags. No, you can't just be purple, that wouldn't be very human-like. Shigeru Omori, the primary director of Pokemon games since 2014 and Pokemon Pokopia's concept and senior director, explained the thought behind making a Pokemon the main character and why it transforms into a human. "I wanted to create something where you can directly communicate with Pokemon," Omori said. Omori worried that if they had a trainer as the playable character, as in the other mainline titles, it becomes the trainer giving orders to Pokemon, which they wanted to avoid. By keeping it all Pokemon, an atmosphere of friendship and teamwork is created. There are two reasons Omori decided to make specifically Ditto the main character too. One to benefit the gameplay, and another to benefit the story. Because Ditto can transform into other Pokemon and use their moves, it was the best option. I argue Mew could fit that bill too, but of course Mew wouldn't have those adorable, simple eyes and slack mouth, as Professor Tangrowth puts it. The other reason feeds the narrative motivations of Pokemon Pokopia. No one else knows what Ditto's trainer looks like, so Ditto transforming into the trainer it misses is essentially asking the other Pokemon, "Do you know this human being?" Again, so cute, so melancholic, and I love it. The tutorial, fortunately, is nicely integrated into what would be the regular flow of gameplay and lets you start doing stuff outside of its confines very quickly. After meeting Professor Tangrowth, I found the Pokédex and then found my first, then second, then third Pokemon friend, expanding my abilities and how I could affect the world with each one, further enhancing my ability to create a wider variety of habitats to attract a wider variety of Pokemon. Bulbasaur taught me the move Leafage, allowing me to create tall grass at will. Squirtle taught me the move Water Gun, so I could revitalize the dry ground and grass in the aptly named Withered Wasteland, the environment you start in. Charmander didn't teach me a move, but instead taught me that you can ask Pokemon to follow you somewhere so they can perform an action based on their specialty. In Charmander's case, they lit a fire for me. As for other specialty examples, Timbur's build helps you build structures, and Bulbasaur's Crow makes plants grow faster. Of course, to find more Pokemon, you need to make a variety of habitats. The most basic habitat is 4 squares of tall grass, easily made by leafage. You can also move objects around with Ditto's ability to store and then spit up materials, like a punching bag. This is canonically the move Stockpile. Holding the collect button down actually makes Ditto continuously suck up anything around it, causing its face to hilariously and disturbingly resemble the screen painting. Other habitats include ones like the self-described boulder-shaded tall grass, which attracts fighting-type Pokemon like Timber and Machop, and hydrated flower bed, made of 4 flower beds placed beside, you guessed it, water. After a bit of time passes, a square in your new habitat may shake, indicating there's a Pokemon there to meet. Like the Pokédex for tracking Pokemon, there's a Habitat Dex for tracking habitats, and there are quite a number to discover. Though I loved just experimenting, it isn't all completely guesswork. Occasionally, you'll find a sparkle on the ground that's a trace of Pokemon, which gives you a hint about a yet-to-be-found Pokemon's preferred habitat you haven't discovered yet. This cycle of attracting new Pokemon, learning new skills or discovering new specialties from them, then making more new habitats to attract even more new Pokemon is the corest of core loops in Pokemon Pokopia, and is already incredibly engaging and fun without even considering the crafting and world customization you can do. This isn't an accident. When thinking about the development of the game, the team started thinking about the cycles of the user's motivation, said Takeda Edogawa of Koei Tecmo Games, Pokemon Pokopia Chief Director. What the user wants to do, what they would want to start to do within the cycle. So for example, filling up the Pokédex or creating more habitats, then that would create meeting more Pokemon. Every single step in the game, Edogawa continued, the core of it is to be with the Pokemon, communicating with Pokemon. So wherever you go, there is always Pokemon. That is the largest difference compared to other life sim games. This core cycle that focuses on the Pokemon first and foremost is ingrained into the main objectives that propel the story as well. Just after meeting the Kanto starters, you discover a decrepit Pokemon Center nearby. The PC there automatically launches the PokéLife Environment Improvement app, which dishes out both important tasks tied to progression, like increasing an area's environment level or rebuilding the Pokemon Center, and smaller daily objectives, like collecting a certain number of sturdy sticks. The stick collecting is self-explanatory, but to increase the environment level of the area, you must attract more Pokemon and improve their comfort levels. Again, another touchpoint with Pokemon. Placing furniture a Pokemon wants within the bounds of its habitat, which you can see by pressing in on the R stick, will increase its comfort level. Bulbasaur, for example, specifically asked for a bed, so I crafted a straw bed from leaves for them. The PokéLife app rewarded me for my efforts with new unlocks and life coins. These can be used to buy a variety of things at the PC. like furniture, seeds, Pokemon hints, building recipes, and more. After increasing the environment level, Professor Tangrowth had more for me too. There seems to be a lot more to Pokopia than everything I already talked about. I haven't even touched on building buildings or what looks to be a huge number of collectibles, like human records, which included things like a diary that gave a glimpse of what Professor Tangrowth's life was like with their human, and a document on Pokemon greetings that taught me an emote. The 4-player multiplayer session gave me a look at a developed world where Pokemon's habitats were developed so thoroughly they lived inside houses. The inside of the houses had furniture and decorations, like plushies, and the little town was manicured with sidewalks, fences, lampposts, and even a stage. My time with multiplayer was short, and I'm restricted from what exactly I can reveal, so I can't say much more about it besides that it was fun. I can see friends ushering each other to stay on task because it is just so easy to get distracted in Pokemon Pokopia, and that sounds like the best kind of hectic. I was that friend in my group, I'm sorry. Edogawa said that, on average, depending on how you play Pokemon Pokopia, it will take between 20 and 40 hours to reach the end credits. But that's not really the main motivation to play Pokemon Pokopia. It's to make a world to live with Pokemon. As for the post-game, there's more things to experience after the end credits. I believe that players are encouraged to and will be motivated to continue to play the game, Edogawa said. There will also be motivation for players to log in intermittently. Pokemon Pokopia producer Kanako Murata of the Pokemon Company said, "When you play day by day, there may be something that, on a specific day, something special that might happen in the game. Considering how many hours some friends of mine have put into Animal Crossing New Horizons, I think they're right, especially for those whose motivations are to create a unique place to live with Pokemon. For me, I hope Ditto and the crew learn what happened to create this apocalyptic empty world. But regardless, I'm excited to restore it with my best Pokemon friends." For more Pokemon coverage, don't miss your first look at Pokepark Kanto. And for everything else in the world of video games, stick with IGN.
Hey everyone, Logan here from IGN and Nintendo Voice Chat, and I recently had the chance to play about an hour and a half of Star Fox on Nintendo Switch 2, and I walked out of my preview in disbelief at how excited I was to tell you all about a remake of a game I've already played several times. This new take on the classic Star Fox 64 is not just a simple fresh coat of paint like the 3DS version. Instead, it's shaping up to be a significantly expanded and surprisingly cinematic retelling of the Lylat Wars, thanks to an overhauled, expanded script that's brought to life by some of the strongest voice acting and cutscene direction I've ever seen in a Nintendo game. Star Fox punches up its story and characters while keeping the original's level design and gameplay completely intact. But its stages certainly don't feel old or out of place by comparison. Its crisp graphics, snappy controls, and majestic orchestral soundtrack match the grand scope Nintendo appears to be aiming for. I understand some fans are disappointed that we're getting another version of 64 instead of an all-new entry. That was my gut reaction too until I came around on this announcement. But given that this is the reality, it is hard for me to imagine a better realization of Star Fox 64 in 2026.
Enemy targets up ahead. Let's rock and roll!
All aspects of Star Fox's modern presentation bring it closer to what the series has always felt like. It's Star Wars: A New Hope with animals. Yet series creator Shigeru Miyamoto was inspired by several other science fiction series when developing the original, but Star Fox's parallels with Star Wars have always been the most visible, and this blockbuster take evokes that comparison more than ever. New cutscenes feature Fox, Falco, Peppy, and Slippy gathered around a hologram of General Pepper as they receive their next mission orders, reminiscent of the rebellion plotting their course to destroy the Death Star. Fluttering woodwinds decorate the soundscape as the camera pans down from the Great Fox to the planet that its ragtag band of pilots are heading to. Star Fox's sci-fi world feels grimy like Star Wars does too, and the new art direction contributes to its lived-in feeling. Fox looks somewhere between a cartoon action hero and a real-life fox, with visible whiskers and ears that fold back when he's talking. After seeing it in motion, this risky direction completely works for me. Fox looks a little stinky, and I'm sure he probably is. But don't you think Chewbacca smells pretty ripe, too?
We're gonna take the system back from Andros, one planet at a time.
The cinematic take does far more for Star Fox than simply reminding me of a galaxy far, far away. I'm a firm believer that just because a video game is quote-unquote more cinematic doesn't automatically make it better. It's how a game leverages that decision that really counts. And in this case, the result so far is that Star Fox's universe feels fleshed out and important. And I'm already more attached to this version of the crew than in any prior Star Fox game. This is a space opera, and the bigger focus on characters and world building adds meaningful weight to each mission I fought through. The higher stakes start as early as the opening training mission, which has been significantly reworked. Instead of dryly learning the basics on his own, Fox has joined in a virtual reality combat simulation with his 3 companions, giving me a chance to learn their personalities at the same time as the controls. Slippy is as clumsy as ever, slamming into Fox's R-Wing by mistake, which Peppy made sure to chew him out for. Falco bragged about stealing a couple of Fox's kills, which was the first of many signs to show that they're leaning even harder into their rivalry. After learning all the ins and outs of my R-Wing, Falco cranked up the simulation to the highest difficulty he could, literally past the point where it was covered by the crew's warranty. And I was swarmed with bogeys until the whole thing crashed. This was a charming spin on a tutorial, and it rolled straight into my first cutscene where the crew tore off their VR headsets and started chatting. I was immediately impressed by the voice acting and animation. There was a real believability to each of the characters, no doubt helped by lip syncing that matches the English dialogue, which is a real rarity for Nintendo games, along with quality facial animations and eye movements. Unfortunately, the cutscenes do appear to run at a disappointing 30 FPS compared to the perfectly smooth 60 FPS during gameplay. It was jarring to jump between the two. I'll note here that any off-screen footage you're seeing was shot at 1080p 60 FPS using my phone's camera, so it doesn't do full justice to how great the game looks in person, where the resolution is surely much higher than that.
Let's see what he has to say for himself.
Next, we descended to Corneria, the recreated opening level from the original. The fantastic attention to detail remained on display as warnings like "keep limbs clear" were visible near transforming mechanical parts of the R-Wing, and Falco had painted blue feathered wings on the back of his. The R-Wing feels incredible to control. It smoothly glides around the screen during the on-rail segments, and the control stick reacts to minute adjustments like it's really my flight stick. It also struck me how great it felt to play a home console Star Fox with traditional controls. The only other Star Fox in Nintendo's HD era was chained to an unintuitive control scheme on Wii U. Returning to a standard control scheme brought on a sense of relief, similar to swinging Link's sword with a button press again after the era of waggle and touchscreen experiments. I revisited Star Fox 64 ahead of time to prepare, so I instantly fell into the rhythm of destroying enemies with my laser and bombs while trying to rack up as many hits as I could. The enemy placement and pacing of the stage appeared to be completely identical to the N64 and 3DS versions, but the level design absolutely holds up. Saving Slippy in the opening water area, flying through the canyon until the ruined city revealed itself, and blasting baddies out of the sky was still exciting. Made even fresher by the gorgeous graphics and amazing music. The best word I can use to describe Star Fox's visuals is crisp. Things like trees and the ground don't have the most finely detailed textures you've ever seen, but when you're boosting by them on what's essentially a roller coaster, the clean art style shines. And they've nailed the most important parts. The R-Wing itself looks fantastic in motion, the colorful background set the mood perfectly, especially in outer space, and the glowing polygonal enemies look great, especially when they're exploding. It sounds wonderful too, with satisfying metal clanks when you shoot down enemies. The script during missions has received a huge facelift as well. It's a cliche to say a video game remake looks like I remember it in my head, but that's actually the reaction I had to the dialogue. Star Fox 64 always felt fresh for how the characters talked to each other during combat, reacted to friendly fire, and had different things to say based on your gameplay. It's still very cool in the original, but very limited by modern standards. I compared the in-mission conversations in Star Fox on Switch 2 directly to the script from Star Fox 64, and there's so much more here. The scenario is the same, but it's fleshed out. For example, when Falco talks about issues with his G-diffuser, Slippy now chimes in by saying, "That's why you shouldn't rush a systems check." They respond to each other more than before, and it is building a greater sense of camaraderie amongst the crew. I also adore this take on Slippy Toad. He's more self-aware that he's not a great pilot, he's calmer in tense situations, and he has complete faith in his crew to bail him out. I can't wait for the full game to see how the stronger focus on characters pays off in the end. But one iconic line, of course, was left completely unchanged. There was an instance of changed dialogue I'm more mixed on, though. Longtime Star Fox players know that to reach the secret route on Corneria, you need to successfully kill the bogies on Falco's tail and then fly under all of these archways, which will impress Falco and cause him to take you on an alternate path. This isn't really hinted at whatsoever in the old script, but now Falco explicitly tells you that the archways look like a good obstacle course, directly referencing the secret. It's not a huge deal, and maybe it was overly obtuse before, but it feels a bit less like a special discovery waiting to be found and more like a clearly telegraphed objective. I was actually instructed by the Nintendo PR rep to avoid the arches and take the normal path on my first playthrough, but I did get to replay Corneria in co-op to see the alternate route through to the end. In 2-player, one person pilots the R-Wing, while the other uses the Joy-Con 2's mouse controls to aim the reticle and shoot. I was the pilot, so I didn't get to directly go hands-on with the mouse controls myself, but my gunner said they felt great. From my perspective though, co-op was honestly pretty boring. I didn't really enjoy flying the ship around with no control over combat, and this mode feels best suited for parents to try out with their kids. No one could stop me from pursuing the alternate path on the second stage, Meteo, where you need to fly through all of these portals in one go to jump through hyperspace to an unknown location. I knew I only had one shot to pull this off in my limited preview time, and it felt great when I nailed the final portal, and even better when the PR folks behind me were chatting about how even they hadn't seen that alternate path yet in the remake. I was warped to an amazing rift with beautiful hues of purple and orange, where I used my bombs to rack up tons of hits by destroying meteors. I got enough hits to earn a medal for the stage, and I'm excited to eventually medal every stage in the full game, along with completing the new optional achievements added to each level. Finally, I got to check out the new 4 vs 4 multiplayer dogfights, and while it was easily the weakest part of my preview, I still think there's potential here for a fun side mode. We tried 2 matches where the objective was to steal cargo from NPC space pirates and deliver it to our ship. It was all about coordinating with your team to decide who would grab the cargo and who would defend them from the enemy team as they transported back to base. I've always preferred Star Fox's on-rail sections to the all-range mode portions where you can fly in any direction, so the multiplayer dogfights haven't entirely clicked with me yet. Still, it was genuinely exciting to shoot down an enemy ship. But with only 3 maps and 1 mode on each, I'm not sure how much of a player base the multiplayer will find, but at least you can easily fill the empty slots with bots. I also tried the hilarious game chat avatars where the Nintendo Switch 2 camera uses your movements on a Star Fox character, and I was shocked at how accurate it was. Fox blinked when I did, the mouth movements were surprisingly good, and when we had 4 characters on screen in their cockpits, it was so funny to see them all focusing on the battle. I can definitely see people having a great time with this gimmick in the full game, and it's probably the best use of the Switch 2's camera so far. And it's just another example of Nintendo pulling out all the stops for this remake. Star Fox is out on Switch 2 on June 25th, and contrary to what Star Wars characters usually say, I've got a great feeling about this one. For more previews of the biggest upcoming games, don't miss our recent hands-on looks at Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced and Aliens Fireteam Elite 2, and for everything else in the world of video games, barrel roll on over to IGN.
The Star Fox 64 remake has been revealed. Going by just Star Fox, Nintendo gave us an in-depth look at what we can expect when the game launches next month on June 25th. We got a look at some very familiar characters, locations, and even some old and new cutscenes to boot. In this video, we're going to be showing some side-by-side comparisons of the original game from N64 alongside the new footage shown off for the Switch 2 exclusive remake. Alright, enough talking, let's let the games speak for themselves.
Atmospheric entry complete. Extend the wings.
Open the wings. Check your G-diffuser system.
Slippy here. So far, so good.
This is Peppy. All systems go.
Falco here. G-diffuser seems fine. Let's go already. Enemy targets up ahead. Let's rock and roll!
Slippy, get back here!
Now you've done it, Slippy. Bogey on your tail.
Cover me while I fine-tune my sensors. Oh, you got him? Well, thanks, Fox.
Use the brake!
Slippy, stay in formation. Now you've done it, Slippy. Bogey on your tail.
I spot the train. I'm taking it out.
Besides the R-Wing, an agile ground assault vehicle called the Landmaster. And a modified exploratory submersible called the Blue Marine can also be piloted, depending on the mission.
Take care of the guy behind me, Fox!
Ficina is a frozen planet, with most of its surface covered in ice and snow.
It's your own target, Fox.
You're not getting away that easy!
You're mine! Take care of the guy behind me, Fox!
Solar is the Lilat system's scorching hot second star.
Hey, your buddy, go away! Good riddance! That almost got burned!
And Zoness is a deserted, polluted ocean planet that was stripped of all its natural resources.
Cool your jets, Cat.
Enemy tanker! You got an enemy on your tail! Enemy tanker! You got an enemy on your tail!
There's also an asteroid field to navigate.
Persistent laser tech!
The enemy's coming from behind. Here they come! All units report.
You are an enemy.
I've underestimated you. How about this?
We need your help, Star Fox.
Hey there, General. You seem a little on edge. But as it happens, my team's
This is Fox McCloud, leader.
We need your help, Star Fox. Andros has declared war. He's invaded the Lilat system and is trying to take over Corneria. Our army alone can't do the job. Hurry, Star Fox.
It's hard to believe that it's been nearly a decade since The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild launched alongside the Nintendo Switch. Sorry for making you feel old. Breath of the Wild is a staggeringly massive game filled with secrets, weapons, and the now iconic Korok seeds hidden in every corner of the lush fields of Hyrule. When it launched in 2017, you could play Breath of the Wild for hundreds of hours without running out of things to do, but that didn't satisfy Nintendo apparently, since there's been a plethora of content added to the game in the years following its release. If you are planning on returning to the land of Hyrule now that the game is getting re-released on the Nintendo Switch 2, here's a guide on everything new added to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild since its initial release. There was one major piece of DLC available post-launch for Breath of the Wild, but in typical Nintendo fashion, it was a little more complicated than it needed to be. The Breath of the Wild expansion pass included 3 separate DLC packs released over the course of 2017. The first pack, titled the Expansion Pack Bonus, gave players 3 relatively underwhelming treasure chests containing some supplies and an exclusive Nintendo Switch branded t-shirt for Link to wear. With an armor rating of 1, however, it's not something that should be worn out into battle. The Master Trials DLC was a much more substantial release. It included a handful of new modes that let players test their skills with things like Challenge Trials and Master Mode. Additionally, the DLC added movable warp points, a ton of new side quests, and Hero's Path, a map option that lets players track where they've been. The Master Trials DLC pack also added a ton of new equipment from some of the Zelda series' most iconic characters like Midna's helmet, Tingle's leotard, the Phantom armor, and Majora's Mask. The third piece of DLC, confusingly called the Champion's Ballad DLC Pack 2, is the biggest addition to Breath of the Wild. It adds a new main questline that has players return to the Great Plateau, 16 new challenging shrines, remixed boss fights, even more new outfits and armor, but most importantly, it adds a sick-ass motorcycle for Link to drive. The Champion's Ballad is the best piece of content for anyone looking for more out of Breath of the Wild's story, since it continues to bridge the gaps between the events of the game and the events from the past. But as is the case with the rest of Breath of the Wild's storytelling, it's pretty bare bones.
In anticipation of the launch of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in late 2017, Nintendo added a Xenoblade crossover armor set to Breath of the Wild. To get the set, players have to solve a riddle and follow some shooting stars, and once they've completed the side quest, they'll have collected 3 pieces of salvager armor that looks a lot like Rex's outfit from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Unfortunately, like most of the DLC armor, the salvager set isn't able to be upgraded, so it's not great for late game areas. Looks pretty cool though. On top of the major content additions, Breath of the Wild has seen plenty of free, small patches and updates. Nintendo tends to be more than a little vague when it comes to explaining what specifically its patches address, so it can be tricky to know what exactly has been changed in the 10 updates that we've seen since Breath of the Wild launched. Nintendo assures us that with each patch, adjustments have been made to make for a more pleasant gaming experience, but that doesn't give us much to go off of. Instead, fans of Breath of the Wild have banded together to discuss the minor changes they've experienced with each update, including things like bug fixes that break infinite item farming and slight frame rate improvements, but there hasn't been anything major added or changed from the base game in its subsequent updates. Like many Nintendo Switch games, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has amiibo support where players can get additional in-game items once per day by connecting their amiibo to the game. Non-Zelda related amiibo will give you random items, but Zelda amiibo can give you some of the DLC items found in the Master Trials and Champions Ballad DLC packs. Additionally, after Breath of the Wild came out, Nintendo released 4 new amiibo for the 4 champion characters in-game: Daruk, Mipha, Revali, and Urbosa. By scanning the amiibo, players will get helmet armor pieces related to the relevant divine beasts for each champion, and Link will gain a buff related to each character's abilities. With the launch of the Switch 2, Nintendo is releasing a native Switch 2 version of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the new console. Luckily, anyone who already owns Breath of the Wild and is subscribed to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack will get the Switch 2 version for free. However, the upgrade costs $10 for everyone else. Anyone wanting to pick up a new copy of Breath of the Wild for the Switch 2 will find it available for $70. Before we get into what's new with the Switch 2 version, it's important to note that the game doesn't include the Breath of the Wild Expansion Pass DLC, so if you want to experience the Master Trials or ride around on that motorcycle, you'll unfortunately still need to pay for it. Thanks to the improved hardware of the Switch 2, the new version of Breath of the Wild will have improved graphics. Breath of the Wild will run at 60 frames per second at 1080p resolution with HDR support while in handheld mode, and expect the game to run even better when docked. This will address a lot of the complaints that have been levied at the game over the years for its poor performance, especially in heavily populated areas like the Korok Forest in the Lost Woods. Additionally, load times have been improved drastically, addressing another common complaint with the original game. If you're worried about losing your save progress, don't sweat it. The Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild allows players to carry over their progress from the original, while also offering a second save file for anyone wanting to keep their save while also starting a new adventure. Nintendo is also introducing a new part of the Nintendo Switch smartphone app called Zelda Notes, which is a second screen companion app that you can use while playing Breath of the Wild that assists with navigation, plays voice notes left by Zelda that will play as you explore in-game areas, rewards you with daily bonus items, upgrades the photo mode, tracks stats like how many enemies you've defeated and how many chests you've opened, adds achievements, and lets you trade items with friends using QR codes. All in all, Zelda Notes adds a lot to the experience of playing Breath of the Wild, so if you're going to try out the Switch 2 version, you'll want to download the Nintendo Switch app so you don't miss out. Content-wise, there's not much new stuff in the Switch 2 edition of Breath of the Wild. However, the improved frame rate and resolution will be more than enough for many people to justify sinking another 100 or so hours into the game. With Zelda Notes, however, there's a lot of new free content, it's just not on the cartridge. And that's everything you need to know about what's been added to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild since its launch for the Switch and the Wii U in 2017. With the Switch 2 edition, there's plenty of reason to jump back into the world of Hyrule with its improved performance. Plus, the re-release serves as a great excuse to check out the DLC if you missed it. Thanks for watching, and for more on The Legend of Zelda and all things Nintendo Switch 2, keep kicking it with IGN.
Where to, folks?
Did you miss us?
On me.
Cloud.
at stake here.
Dad! Mommy! I'm sorry.
Tifa!
I'm in! Right! Ready?
Bring it on!
Let's do this.
Sephiroth has to be stopped.
Don't let her fool you.
No telling what the future holds for us.
Shall we?
Let's finish this.
And I hereby declare to the Pokemon of the world, I will be a Pokemon Master!
30 years, 3 decades, over 1,500 weeks, more days than I feel like counting or looking up online, but that's how long Pokemon has been part of our world, and what a lifetime it's been. There's a lot to celebrate in the year of Pokemon's 30th anniversary, from the vast library of amazing games, the phenomenon that was and continues to be Pokemon Go, and the long-running anime that opened our hearts up to an electric rat.
Pikachu!
But the real stars of this gargantuan, multifaceted franchise are of course the Pocket Monsters themselves, and that's why we are ranking the very best of them. Don't worry about catching them all, because these are the 30 Pokemon you really want. And why would you want these 30 as chosen by our most Pokemon-obsessed editors? Because they're the greatest, that's why. There are many methods we could have used to rank these monsters, from analyzing their battle proficiency to assessing how many appearances they make across games, anime, cards, and plushies, but ultimately we've gone with our hearts rather than our heads. These are the 30 Pokemon that we feel best capture the magic and wonder of one of pop culture's most important universes. So, who did we choose? Well, see for yourself.
Whoa! What's that? Wow! I can't believe it! A Bulbasaur!
From its place as one of the original starters to its newly found role as one of Ditto's best friends in Pokopia, Bulbasaur has long had a place in players' hearts. Garnering nutrients from the seed on its back, it's often debated within the Pokemon universe whether Bulbasaur is more plant or animal, though arguably a better question to be asking based on what we learned in the anime episode, Bulbasaur's Secret Garden, is Bulbasaur in a cult? Regardless of the answer to either question, this little green guy is undoubtedly one of the most recognizable and nostalgic Pokemon in the entire Pokedex, which may have something to do with the fact that Bulbasaur is the very first entry.
It's Arceus!
What? It's here for real?
Within the Pokemon universe, Arceus is basically God. It's certainly not always an altruistic deity, kidnapping children, banishing Giratina for potentially dubious reasons, and blowing up players' phones with more cryptic fervor than a situationship. However, they did shape the entire universe, so we can kinda give them a pass based on that. Plus, along with creating the world, Arceus is the only Pokemon that can utilize the Judgment move or have the multi-type ability, and their design also makes it look like they're wearing a really slay pair of boots. What an absolute icon.
Use Meteor Mash!
Essentially an arachnid-adjacent supercomputer, Metagross is the perfect embodiment of both arachnophobia and technophobia in a 4-brained package. Though there are many arguably more terrifying Pokemon, Metagross manages to make you question just how scary creatures like Banette really are when you learn things like how Metagross enjoys pinning down opponents with its extremely heavy body and consuming them with the giant mouth on its belly. And don't even get me started on its Mega form. The description of which in Ultra Sun reads, quote, "Its intellect surpasses its previous level, resulting in battles so cruel they'll make you want to cover your eyes." Metagross is utterly horrifying, but also certifiably badass.
Dragonite, use your slam attack now!
Considered a pseudo-legendary by many fans, it would be impossible not to include Dragonite on this list. Outside the nostalgia factor of being one of the original 151, it's also one of the kindest Pokemon, known for rescuing drowning people and ships lost at sea. It even canonically gets nicer with its Mega evolution, but don't let that kindness fool you, it will still pummel you and your Pokemon into the ground if provoked. However, according to the Legend ZA Pokedex entry for its Mega form, it finishes off its opponents with mercy in its heart. Isn't that sweet?
Take it easy, Dragonite!
Halucha! Lucha!
From how much aura Hawlucha has, you would never guess it's only a couple feet tall. Despite its small size, it's got just as much fighting prowess as Pokemon like Machamp, and with more flair for the dramatic. This showboating can sometimes get it into trouble, leading enemies to counterattack while Hawlucha spends too much time launching into a move, but if anything, this just makes this little diva even more lovable. Despite Hawlucha's theatricality, it prefers to live a quiet life. Hawluchas don't flock together, and their only known enemies in the wild are loud groups of primates, so it's kinda hard not to stand an independent luchador who hates noise pollution. Ditto has risen to more prominence than ever before following the release of Pokopia, but this amorphous critter has been charming since its very first iteration in Gen 1. This purple blob is deceptively simple, able to change its DNA at the drop of a hat. It can reconstitute its entire cellular structure with no lasting harm to its own well-being, copying both its target's appearance and moves, which in a way makes it one of the most powerful Pokemon around. Of course, it's not flawless, offering faltering in its representation due to laughter or misremembering, but that just makes Ditto even more relatable.
Hey!
That face, it's all wrong. What's going on?
Piplup, is something wrong?
Looks to me like Piplup's had its heart stolen by Meryl.
Piplup is arguably one of the most adorable starters in the entire Pokemon franchise, a diminutive cutie pie that can elicit an awe from even the most hardened of hearts. Funnily enough, as much as this Pokemon looks built for being scooped up and held like a little baby, it's one of the hardest to get close to due to its extreme sense of pride. It doesn't like accepting food from its trainers or bonding with them, and will angrily puff its chest out after falling over, which it does quite often. However, much like a petulant cat refusing affection, Piplup's resistance to bonding just makes us want to squish its little face even more.
But at least you're safe.
Gengar's being tossed around by Flygon.
Though you might assume Flygon would be a bug dragon type, and honestly many fans are still confused on how it's not all these years later, it's actually one of the very few ground dragon type Pokemon, giving it a veritable list of immunities, resistances, and types it's effective against. Though the franchise has seen several more dragon Pokemon since Flygon arrived back in Gen 3, its sleek yet cute appearance and the whimsical noise it makes, the flapping of its wings apparently sounds like a woman singing, have given it a special place in many players' hearts several generations later.
Rage tackle attack!
Aside from Ditto and Mew, Eevee is probably the most genetically complex Pokemon, able to evolve into 8 different creatures depending on the conditions. Sure, everyone has a favorite evolution, but none of them would exist without the OG itself. Seen as a sort of scientific mystery within the Pokemon universe, its DNA potentially holds the answer to how all evolution works, but no one has quite figured it out yet. At a glance, Eevee is adorable but relatively simple. It's basically just a fox cat, but it's one of the biggest enigmas too, and its potential lineages also make it one of the most important.
Lucario, I choose you!
Lucario is a certified Pokemon star, serving as protagonist in one of the franchise's best movies, Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, as well as essentially being the poster child for Mega Evolution, theorized to be the first Pokemon to ever Mega Evolve. Able to detect the auras even of invisible creatures, sense emotions from half a mile away, and understand human speech, it's no wonder why it's been paired with some of the most iconic trainers across the series, like Cynthia and Bruno. Lucario's star continues to rise even decades after its initial introduction, recently playing a big role in Pokemon Legends ZA, cementing its legacy as one of the most iconic Pokemon around.
Yeah! Lucario, you did it! Pikachu?
Based on its appearance, Mimikyu would be one of the most convincing Pokemon across the entire roster to play the antagonist in a horror film, but it's actually a secret softie. Underneath the shoddily made costume lurks a mysterious entity that's made everyone who's seen it pass away soon afterwards, so it dons the outfit in an effort to get closer to others. Having chosen its Pikachu disguise based on the yellow fella's huge popularity, Mimikyu just wants to be loved. If that wasn't enough reason to adore it, it's also great in battle. With its exclusive disguise ability letting it tank the first hit, Mimikyu can be a very effective Swords Dance sweeper.
This may be a good time to stop pretending and accept yourself for who you really are.
Handcrafted by Arceus to control the flow of time, Dialga is certainly in the upper pantheon of Pokemon gods. Whether you know it as the selling point for Pokemon Diamond, a villain in the Mystery Dungeon series, or the almighty Sinnoh worshipped by the Diamond Clan in Legends Arceus, this powerful creature has an extremely storied history in the Pokemon series. Its Steel Dragon typing also gives it a bevy of resistances, and combined with higher HP makes it a great defensive option, especially compared to its counterpart, Palkia.
Soul! Yes, Absol are so disasters! We're blasting off again!
Absol is a Pokemon that feels straight out of Greek mythology, able to sense incoming natural disasters and in turn be blamed for them, being seen as a doombringer to humanity when it was only trying to help. It looks like an edgy emo cat, and with its Mega Absol and Mega Absol Z forms, it goes completely I could be your Angle or you are devil mode in the best way possible. It has immense power, but it doesn't abuse it. It actually tries to cut down its foes in a single blow out of mercy, which the Mega Z Pokedex entry describes as an act of kindness to keep them from suffering.
Thanks, Absol! Thanks for everything!
Absol.
Oh, it's huge!
Easily one of the most relatable Pokemon, Snorlax embodies the slacker that lurks within us all. Caring only about snacks and naps and resting peacefully as children play on its stomach, it's living the kind of idyllic lifestyle that we humans can only dream of. Plus, Snorlax is always finding new ways to be even more chilled out, like its Mosslax form in Pokopia. It's quite inspirational, really. It's also been a long-standing part of the metagame, serving as one of the most effective stall walls for players setting up their teams in both the VGC and TCG.
What are the odds of running into that runt in this large lake?
Gyarados is one of the best examples of a glow-up, not just in Pokemon, but in modern pop culture in general. Its transition from silly little useless fish Magikarp to a badass water dragon is one for the history books, and one that was inspired by ancient folklore. It's also a large part of what made Gyarados so special when it was introduced in Gen 1, the exercise and patience of coddling Magikarp to level 20 for a powerful reward. It's one of the angriest Pokemon in the canon, often engaging in city-destroying rampages that can go on for months at a time. Gyarados is not to be messed with, and absolutely ace to have on your team. Let's be honest, this guy is a straight-up dinosaur, and that absolutely rules. It's also canonically kind of a jerk, but in a hilarious way. Because its tough exterior makes it impossible to injure, it's constantly picking fights, knowing it'll win, and it's described in Silver as having an insolent nature that makes it not care about others. Tyranitar can cause huge earthquakes simply by walking, and has been known to bring down entire mountains just to make a nest, and its mega form is pretty much just Godzilla. Everything about this Pokemon is over the top and awesome.
Well, alright then. There's no other choice.
Somewhere along the way, the Pokemon franchise shifted from saying Greninja's Shuriken were made of compressed water to saying they were made out of mucus, the latter of which is decidedly less appealing, but both options are still unequivocally badass. Though intimidating as an opponent, the anime also showed the soft side of Greninja as well, endearing it to many fans as they watched it grow up from just a wee Froakie. Ash and Greninja solidifying their bond to unleash the Pokemon's special Ash Greninja form was particularly charming, and there really hasn't been a comparable transformation before or since.
All right, Gardevoir, it's time. Let's show the fans a spectacular battle! Gardevoir.
There's a reason this iconic Pokemon earned itself a life-size plush, and it's not just to appease creepy dudes on the internet. Gardevoir has had a persistent presence in the TCG meta, with almost every tournament having at least a few players running some sort of Gardevoir deck. Even recently, Gardevoir EX was one of the most high-value cards from the Mega Evolution set. Last year, the TCG Masters champion at Pokemon Worlds won with a Gardevoir deck, and the same strategy will likely be seen again this year.
Wow! Now that packed a powerful punch!
What's that?
There is no data. There are still Pokemon yet to be identified.
Ho-Oh is the master of first impressions. When Western audiences saw Ho-Oh flying through the sky in the first episode of the anime, we all collectively said, "What on earth is that?" and have been enraptured by the mysterious rainbow bird ever since. Based on the legend of the ever-resurrecting Phoenix, Ho-Oh has the ability to bring creatures back to life, and revived Raikou, Entei, and Suicune after the Brass Tower fire, making it an integral part of Pokemon lore. Ash seeing Ho in the pilot is also potentially why he never ages. Legend says those that see it are granted eternal happiness, and journeying with his Pokemon is where the trainer derives the most joy. Though I don't know, being 10 years old for 30 years kinda sounds like a curse.
Okay, Staryu, here's your chance to...
Sigh?
Maybe it's a horror movie.
A chronic headache sufferer that's riddled with anxiety, Psyduck is a very relatable Pokemon. The Pokedex sometimes roasts Psyduck a little bit, calling it unaware and totally vacant, but fans have spent many hours watching it serve as a loyal companion to Misty in the anime, proving there's more to it than meets the eye. To be fair to the Pokedex though, Psyduck is canonically unaware of its own powers, having no memory of whenever it unleashes them, but that just makes this confused duck even more endearing.
Psyduck, you were the big hero.
Psyduck?
Then let's get this underway. Garchomp, battle dance!
This guy looks like a combination between a jet and a land shark, which is iconic in and of itself, but its role as Cynthia's partner Pokemon makes it a true Hall of Famer. Cynthia knew what she was doing with that choice. Garchomp's well-rounded stats and its rough skin ability make it an absurdly good addition to almost any team. Garchomp doesn't just look like a jet plane either, it's able to fly at sonic speeds and is known to eat entire flocks of birds mid-air, which is admittedly horrifying, but also a perfect example of this Pokemon's expansive power.
Suicune!
For many players, Suicune was who the Master Ball was for. It turned heads as the legendary box art star for Crystal, and the opening title sequence to the game just cemented its coolness. Basically an environmentalist in a leopard body, it has the ability to purify any water source, dashing around the world on the whim to do so. Its role in Pokemon Forever can't be overlooked either, especially in the climax of the film as it tries to help Celebi, showing this imposing Pokemon has a heart of gold. Or crystal, or silver, or whatever.
Suicune, thank you. Maybe we'll see you again someday.
From the early days of searching for it under a truck, Mew has always had a certain mystique for players. It's said to contain the DNA of every single Pokemon, with every other Pokemon potentially being a Mew descendant. This complicated DNA structure means Mew has the ability to learn every move, giving it the biggest pool of any Pokemon, and it can transform itself into almost any other Pokemon at will, something that's sparked a lot of speculation in the fandom about the relationship between Ditto and Mew. It's also been the subject of some of the most iconic Pokemon cards to date, like the Bubble Mew and Ancient Mew, further cementing its legacy as an enduringly popular Pokemon.
Squirtle, 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 Squirtle.
Meowth, what's it saying?
I think it said give us your food or else.
Our fearless sunglasses-wearing leader of the Squirtle Squad was inevitably going to wind up on this list. Definitely walking the line between Cutie Patootie and Cool Guy, Squirtle is a favorite amongst the original starters for many fans, and poring over the hard data suggests that it's actually the strongest choice. However, its place on this list is truly cemented by its anime legacy, having some of the best moments of the entire series. From its introduction in the Squirtle Squad, to its heartwarming farewell to Ash, to the weird yet engaging plot of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Team Go-Getters Out of the Gate, in which a human boy is transformed into a Squirtle, this little guy has brought viewers joy for years. Many players have always been fascinated by Celebi's rarity. From its introduction in Gen 2, it's consistently been one of the trickiest Pokemon to acquire, often only available through events or trading. Its starring role in Pokemon Forever further catapulted it to stardom, introducing more time-traveling lore as Guardian of the Forest. Because it can exist simultaneously throughout time, Celebi serves as a beacon of hope, with its Alpha Sapphire Pokedex entry stating that so long as Celebi appears, a bright and shining future awaits us. It also takes the cake for one of the most satisfying meta builds in the history of Pokemon TCG Pocket, potentially landing dozens of hits on an opponent at a time.
Do you really think I'm afraid of you?
Gengar, 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 Gengar.
Gengar possesses some of the creepiest Pokédex entries of all time, and I mean that in a very complimentary way. They're all littered with references to Gengar laying curses on people, hiding in their shadows, and stealing their lives. Perhaps the scariest is from Pokemon Sun. Should you feel yourself attacked by a sudden chill, it is evidence of an approaching Gengar. There is no escaping it. Give up. Gengar undoubtedly set a terrifyingly cool precedent as the final evolution of the very first Ghost Pokemon line, and its hilarious appearances in the anime further solidified it as a fan favorite ever since. Even decades after Gengar's introduction, a recent survey showed that it still ranks within the top 3 most popular Pokemon. Hey, what's cooler than a legendary dragon Pokemon that looks like a snake and a missile had a baby? A missile snake baby dragon that is also obsessed with world peace, obviously. Rayquaza, the face of Pokemon Emerald, is both the guardian of Earth and the keeper of the peace between ancient beefing gods Groudon and Kyogre. It resides in Earth's atmosphere, subsisting on water and space dust as it protects the planet from threats like aliens and meteors and stuff like that. Though Rayquaza aims to keep the peace, its ability to control the weather makes it a literal force of nature, and it's the only Pokemon that can Mega Evolve without a stone, instead possessing a dedicated organ for that specific purpose.
Rayquaza!
Trust me, and I'll show you a way to focus your powers that will make you invincible.
Show me.
Many fans who enjoyed Pokemon the first movie as children probably found Mewtwo terrifying, and honestly, it still is from an adult perspective, especially when you run into a TCG opponent with Mewtwo on their team. Aside from those that are literal gods, Mewtwo is arguably one of the most powerful legendary Pokemon. With absurdly strong psychic powers, it possesses basically every cool ability you can think of, from telekinesis to mind erasure to the capability for human speech via telepathy. Its lore as a genetic experiment is also one of the deepest in the franchise, sparking philosophical questions about what identity really means.
Am I just an experiment?
We're down on
a laboratory specimen?
Further down if you want to look.
This cannot be my destiny.
It's so cute, it's the best of all!
You'll see.
Oh, hi, Pikachu!
Pika.
Ash and Pikachu are the dynamic duo in the Pokemon franchise fandom. It's hard to imagine what the anime possibly could have looked like without Pikachu by the trainer's side for hundreds of episodes, but it was almost Clefairy. In any case, since then, the fan-favorite Electric Rat has taken up the mantle as the overall mascot for the entire franchise. It's in almost all marketing materials, and people will trek from across the globe just to get Pokemon Center exclusive Pikachus. There is undoubtedly no character more synonymous with the overarching legacy of Pokemon than Pikachu. Truly, who else but Charizard could have taken the #1 spot in this list? The subject of some of the most iconic TCG cards of all time, a simultaneously badass and meaningful companion to Ash in the anime, and a Pokemon team staple going back to the very first game, Charizard is the undisputed GOAT. Since it appeared on the original box art for Pokemon Red, it was the first favorite for many, and to lots of fans, nothing has been able to dethrone it since.
We did it, Charizard! We won!
So there you have it, those are IGN's picks for the 30 best Pokemon of all time, based on vague and various criteria. Did we catch your favorite, or do we think we missed one of the all-time greats? There's over 1,000 of them, so it's very possible that your list is different from ours. Let us know in the comments below, and for more Pokemon, check out our list of the best Pokemon games of all time, and for everything else, stick with IGN.
To me, and I'm sure many others, the Pokemon franchise as a whole has always been cozy. Set in a mostly idyllic world with cute best friends who are always by your side, how could it not give you warm, fuzzy feelings, at least occasionally?
One man sought dominion through reunion. By his will, a star fell.
Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 biggest announcements made during the Summer Games Fest 2026 showcase. Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to Mojo Plays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Mighty Cuphead Adventure.
Hello there, I'm Cuphead here at Studio MDHR headquarters.
One of the very first announcements came from Studio MDHR, the developers behind the 2017 hit Cuphead. It has been almost a decade since the studio debuted with their very first game and very first blockbuster title, so there has been reason to question why they've been dormant for so long. Turns out MDHR has been busy working on not one, but 2 games. Mighty Cuphead Adventure is one of the projects, and looks to be a more retro-styled 2D action platformer. Mighty Cuphead Adventure will be launched at some point soon, maybe, but the second game will be yet another Cuphead game featuring the hand-drawn animation that gave the original its charm.
Mighty Cuphead Adventure!
Only from Studio MDHR!
Crossfire.
So be it. For now.
Either we fight those things together, or die alone.
That's No Moon is a development studio composed of former Naughty Dog staff, and you can almost tell from watching the trailer of their latest game here, Crossfire. Yes, this is from the same franchise that birthed the failed 2022 game Crossfire X. However, this new installment looks much more promising. Crossfire is bringing cover shooters back with a gripping tale of 2 soldiers fighting back against infected humans. It sounds generic in its plot, sure, but the performance of the 2 lead actors and the gameplay and character animation on display look quite impressive. Plus, if this is coming from Naughty Dog alumni, we highly doubt this is going to be anything less than solid.
We fight together or die alone.
Guild Wars 3.
One reason stands above all others. Our wonder.
Guild Wars 2 saw such a wealth of expansions over the past decade and a half that it was hard to entertain the idea of ArenaNet moving forward with a sequel. Well, we finally got a tease for Guild Wars 3. Sadly, we didn't get to see much in terms of gameplay, as most of the trailer is composed of cinematic shots. However, it's safe to assume that Guild Wars 3 is going to look and play just as well as the previous games. We'll be moving on to the sequel sometime in 2027.
To you, we can promise magic.
Virtua Fighter 6. Sega and Ryuga Gotoku Studio, aka RGG Studio, have spoken a bit here and there about the revival of Virtua Fighter. Well, Summer Games Fest gave us a look at the revival's story mode, Crossroads. Not only did we get a look at a new original character, we also got to see the game's combat in action. Plus, Pai-chan makes a grand return and is looking absolutely incredible. While the game is only scheduled for a 2027 release, we can probably expect to see more of the game at future events like EVO, Gamescom, the Game Awards, and maybe even Tokyo Game Show. Among Us Story On Guard. One of the biggest surprises in the second half of Summer Games Fest was the reveal of Innersloth's newest game, a spin-off of Among Us. This is a single-player adventure game where you will have to solve a murder mystery on your own, investigating crime scenes and testimonies in order to find the imposter. Unfortunately, no release date or window was given at the time of the announcement, but we can't imagine On Guard is too far away. So, wishlist it if you're planning to play it at launch. Lord knows I am. The Wolf Among Us 2 and The Wolf Among Us Remastered.
People are dying. Some monster is out there.
After seeing an entire studio close down, several new ones rise up, and years of delays, the world of The Wolf Among Us is finally returning. For the first time ever, we got to see what the new Telltale Games has been cooking up for The Wolf Among Us 2. Turns out that Ad Hoc Studio, the developers behind the 2025 hit game Dispatch, has been co-developing the game. And good lord, it looks amazing.
The Whirlpool Bloom Wash Inverter Plus Fully Auto Washing Machine is designed to give the best laundry experience. Equipped with advanced features that offer maximum energy savings and extra protection, you can guarantee that you will get the ultimate laundry care at the lowest possible cost. Everyday care. Whirlpool.
Ready to get to work?
Though we'll have to wait until 2027 to play Big B's next outing, Telltale made a second announcement for the franchise. You will be able to relive the 2013 game with new visuals and performance optimization when The Wolf Among Us Remastered launches in holiday 2026.
Hope I didn't keep you waiting.
Stellar Blade: Blood Rain. It was almost hard to believe that we were seeing the next game from developer Shift Up. After all, Stellar Blade only released a little over 2 years ago at the time of this video. So to see the next entry in the franchise this soon was a shocker, and it was an amazing shocker. Stellar Blade: Blood Rain will focus on a whole new story entirely separate from the one we experienced with Eve, Lily, and Adam. Not only that, but our new protagonist, Evie, looks like she will play completely differently from our original protagonist, Eve. As for the game itself, wow, we were not expecting Stellar Blade to get a little more frightening with its creature designs. If only we got a release window of some kind with this grand reveal. Resident Evil Veronica.
He's made such a mess again. Think, I just cleaned it up a week ago. It's like a boulder rolled through here.
Granted, we've known about this one for some time because of rumors here and there, but what a way to open a show. Capcom began Summer Games Fest 2026 by revealing the much-anticipated remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica. Released in the year 2000, Code Veronica has long been heralded as the best spin-off in the entire franchise. Just as it starts in the original game, Claire Redfield heads to Paris in search of her brother, Chris, as she dives further into Umbrella's shady experiments and facilities. The remake, simply titled Resident Evil Veronica, will be released sometime in 2027, and we gotta say, Claire has never looked so fine.
Claire Redfield.
Tifa Lockhart comes to Street Fighter 6. Over the past month, it was long rumored that Tifa was going to appear in Street Fighter 6, as a part of Year 4. This sent some members of the fighting game community into a frenzy, as most had been wanting the ultimate Final Fantasy babe in Tekken instead. Well, Capcom finally ripped the bandages off with a brief trailer showing some newcomers before ending on Tifa's arrival. Even if it isn't in Bandai Namco's legendary 3D fighter, we have a feeling Tifa will fit in just fine with Chun-Li, Cammy, and company. Besides, this was an excellent way to segue into the biggest announcement of the entire show. Final Fantasy VII Revelation.
Long story short, the world's in trouble. It has been for a while.
So what are we waiting for? Let's give Sephiroth the beating of a lifetime.
We've known this was coming since Rebirth launched in 2024, but holy crap, it is finally here! Square Enix closed out Summer Games Fest by giving an extensive look at the final part in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. Final Fantasy VII Revelation will finally close out the story, and the world looks to be bigger than ever before with refined combat, visuals, and more. The best part about this announcement? We won't have to wait long to play it. Final Fantasy VII Revelation will launch on all major platforms in spring 2027, and you can guarantee we'll be covering the game extensively over on Mojo Plays.
Let us put your faith to the test, Cloud.
What was the biggest Summer Games Fest moment for you? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Mojo Plays.
Monday has helped us be much more effective and efficient. Maxis Group started out as a small family business, and now throughout the years we've acquired different companies both internationally and locally. Right now we're using Monday.com as a project management tool, so this helps us keep track of everything, and at the same time we're using it as our ticketing system for the IT department. Monday.com has given us the ability to let us know where we are, where we've been, and where we're going to be. So having that information is very, very, very useful.
You would be wise to surrender.
One man sought dominion through reunion. By his will, a star fell.
Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we're counting down our picks.
Folks, it's Falcon. Join the 1% Club to get the truly unhinged stuff every weekend. Today on Game Ranks, Summer Game Fest announcements. At number 10, it is Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake. This show started very strong with the reveal of the long-awaited, long-rumored Code Veronica Remake. The trailer started off with a very Resident Evil 3 remake-style first-person prologue, which seems to suggest the game will open very differently compared to the bombastic action movie intro of the original game. The original Code Veronica, of course, was not a bad game at all. However, out of the original Resident Evil games, it's probably among the most that could benefit from the remake treatment, and it'll be nice to see Claire again looking the same as she did back in the RE2 remake. There is a lot of potential here, and I expect that they're going to make some major changes in the tone and the story if this trailer's anything to go by, but this is an instance where I think that's okay. Code Veronica can essentially be a blank slate for them to do what they're good at, and hopefully this will be a bit closer to the RE2 and RE4 remix in quality than RE3, which wasn't a bad game, but it felt kind of more like an expansion pack than a game. From the trailer, that is not the impression I'm getting from this. I've got pretty high hopes. Capcom's been hitting it out of the park repeatedly lately, and I think that they'll impress us another time with this one. Hey, I want to take a second to ask you to enable notifications. We are competing with a lot there on the homepage, and we want to make sure that you see everything you want to see. And if you want to see more of our videos, you want to see them every day, notifications are probably the best way to do it. Thanks a lot for enabling them, and us, for that matter. Let's get back to the video. And number 9, it's Final Fantasy VII Revelation. For whatever reason, it just feels like this Summer Games Fest was the right time for Part 3 to get announced. And here it is. And even expecting to see it, it still looks absolutely incredible and a step up from what they did in the past game, which again, we have called irresponsible. Everyone was wondering how they were going to do the airship, but I think they're probably doing something closest to what I thought, which was that they're just going to do it. Just in the game, you get full control and you can jump off the ship and glide to the surface like Breath of the Wild, which I have to say is the right choice. It's not what I would have even thought of, but man, you can do the airship, you can fly around the world, which is super fun, and you can jump down to the ground. I'm having a feeling it's a clever way of hiding some loading screens a la Crimson Desert, which didn't really cleverly hide them. Probably better than Crimson Desert, but that same kind of concept as to how you've got this sort of sky version of the world map and you jump down to a more detailed version of it. I think that's kind of how that's going to work. That's my guess. We're finally getting Vincent and Sid too completing the party. One thing they're clearly being really careful about showing is Aerith. Her actual fate was left ambiguous at the end of the last game, and what's interesting about this trailer in particular is how faithful it seems to be to the original game, but the actual story events leading to Final Fantasy VII Revelations seem to suggest things could change or diverge or something. Whatever happens, I'm glad to see the weapons in full form. I wasn't sure what the hell they were going to do with that, because those are big, and they're just big, and I like that. It does seem like there's some new mechanics that make the fights more interesting. I think the only question left to ask is if the submarine will also be in the game. I'm guessing yes, because they're completely insane. And also, how many mini games are they going to torture us with this time? I would bet not as many, unless you go back into the Golden Saucer. Which, I mean, you could back in the other game, but I guess this entry is apparently going to tighten things up a little bit, cut through some of the blow to the second game, so potentially is going to be the most polished and maybe best game in the trilogy, which is finally wrapping up in spring 2027. Also of note, it is launching on all platforms. It looks like Square did not want to make a deal with the devil this time and do the exclusivity thing. I think they realized that it's better to make the money on the back end rather than take a big payout up front and kneecap yourself by being only available on one platform. At least with something like this.
Hero Wars! Play in the next tab for free now.
Work today is broken. Every day, people juggle so many different tools just to get work done. A simple task turns into a time-consuming mess because work sprawl has scattered the tools and contexts we rely on. And the trend towards bundling software isn't addressing the root of the problem. The system's broken, and it's wasting our time. 8 years ago, we started ClickUp with a mission to save people time from switching between a bunch of different applications. But we knew the answer wasn't just bundling a bunch of tools together. We needed to rethink how software was built entirely. To solve the root of the problem, we built a single flexible platform with powerful primitives that can be shared to build multiple first-class products inside of one app. We call this convergence. It's allowed us to deliver products at an extremely high velocity, and now we're tying it all together in a new way. Everything we've built has led to this. Introducing ClickUp 4.0, the first converged AI workspace in the world. It's the future of software. It's not just another bundle of apps. It's a fundamentally converged platform where everything works together seamlessly. From communication to project management to knowledge management in one app, accelerated by the world's most productive AI. 4.0 is the epicenter for all of your work and collaboration. It's the beginning of a new meta category of apps that will define the next generation of software in the AI age. And it ushers in a new era of craft and quality for ClickUp's product. We've always said that using ClickUp saves you one day every week, but I'm confident that you're going to save a lot more than that with 4.0. Because when all of your work converges into one app, one tab, one AI workspace, everything just clicks.
And number 8 is Alien Isolation 2. We finally got the first footage of the recently announced Alien Isolation sequel. It looks completely different in terms of setting, and it looks pretty damn exciting. The Japanese dialogue is a very unusual twist, and it throws you off a little at first, but voice responding clearly belongs to Amanda Ripley, the protagonist of the first game. No release date revealed as of yet, but man, it's impressive. The setting is shifted to a colony world where there's more open space and new kinds of dangers lurking in the unforgiving wilderness. Sounds like they're trying to keep the original game's tone intact. I like that. So it doesn't look like it's going the Aliens route and making Amanda into a killing machine, though the trailer does at least prominently display a flamethrower, so perhaps you'll be a little bit better equipped this time around, but we'll see. And number 7 is Stellar Blade Blood Rain. In the past, the team had shift up all but confirmed they were working on a sequel to the surprisingly solid Stellar Blade, but I gotta say, what they showed today was not what I was expecting, and I mean that in a good way. The setting has shifted dramatically from a post-apocalyptic Earth to some kind of crazy future city that looks astounding. They're really feeling their graphical oats on this one, and it's all apparently being rendered in-game. The combat system looks absolutely better than ever. The new boxing style fighting moves pretty inspired and make the game look and play differently from the original. You play as a different protagonist this time, which is not the direction I expected. Looks like they're going kind of for Ghost in the Shell meets biomechanical horrors. I like what I'm seeing. It feels like this one has a much more distinct, unique identity compared to the first game, which was borrowing pretty heavily from Nier Automata, among other things. Another thing I have to say, the trailer had sucked me in for a moment, and then they just kind of hit you with ass, and I'm like, oh, it's a Gunnar game. So I kind of tuned out a little bit, if I'm completely honest. I don't expect a lot out of those games. And then that combat, man, it looks good. And then they put the Stellar Blade name on the screen. I was like, oh, okay, all right. That's a Gunnar game I can trust. And number 6 is Virtua Fighter Crossroads. Man, this one has been a long time coming, but we finally have a name for Virtua Fighter 6. It's Crossroads, and it looks like they're finally making the dream fighting game campaign mode that seems to combine elements of RGG Studios' other most famous franchise, the Yakuza series. Just the fact that there's going to be a full story mode with Virtua Fighter combat in a game that's not called Shenmue is... it's exciting. This could be the next great fighting game story mode. It helps that everything we've seen from the game looks absolutely incredible, with realistic interpretations of classic characters, to the flow and the intensity of the combat. Virtua Fighter's always been one of the really good fighting game franchises, but Sega's giving it the budget treatment it deserves, like a nice big budget, and I'm really happy to see it. No date was given, but it's apparently coming in 2027, so yeah. And number 5 is Crossfire. This one is interesting. The trailer makes it look like some kind of co-op milsim shooter with high production values, but make no mistake, it's a single-player action game that seems to emphasize strategic movement and positioning. The production values are off the charts. The characters and cutscenes look next-gen, which is pretty impressive considering it's a game coming from a new studio called That's No Moon, made up of some former Naughty Dog devs and some former Infinity Ward ones. I'll say when they came out on stage and they were like, we rethought cover. We call it adaptive cover. You move according to the cover and adapt. I was like, yeah, it just happened last week in 007 First Light, but that's not something I'm mad about. More games can do that and I'll definitely be happy. And like, in all seriousness, what starts off looking like a pretty standard military gun game becomes more interesting as the trailer goes on. It appears like some kind of mysterious, possibly alien substance is possessing people and causing them to attack one another. It looks like it could be something to watch out for, but no release date was given yet. And number 4 is Guild Wars 3, a game we were hearing whispers about before Summer Game Fest. And in my head, I was saying, those rumors gotta be true. It's such an out-of-nowhere thing. Nobody would be making that shit up. Guild Wars 2 came out in 2012. That's a lifetime ago. I wouldn't have suspected they'd put a third one out now. Trailer itself doesn't reveal much about what the game will actually be like, but I imagine they're going to stick to the format they originally revolutionized by making a subscriptionless MMO with satisfying movement and combat. If I was cynical, I would say this is a game trying to piggyback on the success of the recent gacha-powered free-to-play open-world games like Genshin Impact and Zenless Zone Zero, stuff like that, but in a more accommodating way. To put this is that I think they're seeing a space for these types of games and are moving forward with a long-belated sequel. I am not an MMO fan. I have said there are a few games that are MMOs that I like, and most of them I don't. Guild Wars is one that I do. They're nice and easy to onboard. You don't feel guilty or get FOMO when you stop playing. That's part of the reason I liked it back then, and I hope that they recognize what makes their game unique rather than try to chase trends. I think it's very possible that they will. It is being made by the same people who made the originals, Arena.net. There's a real possibility this could be a game to watch out for. Beta is going to set for fall 2027, and I hope it's good because Guild Wars, they were kind of a shining beacon in the genre I'm not a huge fan of.
A flexible remote job? Zenfi matches you with roles that fit your skills, experience, and salary goals. Take a quick quiz and start your remote career today.
And number 3 is Gen Atlas. Finally, we have a name to attach to the new game from Fumito Ueda. It feels like it's been an eternity since we first heard about this thing, originally known as Project Robot. Now we're getting some footage and a reason to be excited because the game looks frickin' nuts. It's like a reverse shadow of the Colossus, or like a darker version of Astrobot Rescue Mission, where a tiny little human-sized robot teams up with a colossal robot to, I don't know exactly, it's unclear what your purpose or goal is, but it doesn't really matter because what they're showing looks awesome. You even get a gun this time around. It's different. That's very different for an Ueda game. Usually these things
games that will also be available on Nintendo Switch. Let's begin with some headlines.
Master the way of the sword.
Let's see your best today.
Onimusha, Way of the Sword, a new entry in the Sword Play Action series, is slashing onto Nintendo Switch 2. Edo-era Kyoto has been overrun by monsters known as Genma. Now, Miyamoto Musashi must prove himself beyond measure. Parry. Deflect. And the powerful counterattack Isen. Master these techniques to strike down the enemies in your path. Oni armaments are also at your disposal to turn the tides of battle. You can even use Joy-Con 2 motion controls to intuitively slay Genma. As fates intertwine, will you cut down those that stand in your way? Onimusha, Way of the Sword, launches on Nintendo Switch 2, September 25th. Pre-orders begin later today on Nintendo eShop. Your unwritten epic begins. Dragon's Dogma 2, Dark Arisen is heading to Nintendo Switch 2. You are the Arisen, a hero burdened with the fate of slaying the dragon who has taken your heart. In this expanded version of Dragon's Dogma 2, explore the new You can lead up to 3 pawns, custom companions who act on their own. When taking on massive monsters, you can climb them to strike their weak points. Fighting alongside your pawns is key to victory. In a world between dark and light, embark on an adventure and tell a tale all your own. What fate awaits the Arisen?